of the saints, roaring on these drums. And his blood bringing hope to the slums. He is the God, man, who came down in human flesh. Fashionistas, we needed help to get dressed. This Givenchy, Hermes in high fashion. Red carpet rhymes, got all of the people asking. All this passion for diamonds and a bunch of bling. He ain't a penny for real, man, he the only king. This is Jesus walks the way it should've dropped. Cause when you do a whole album, the label flops. But who cares, this is fake, don't overdose. The sound of his grace through the Holy Ghost. Lord knows I'm a renegade and a maven. My allegiance to the sun got me still praising. I'm praising, I'm praising. And his love, man, is so amazing. Amazing, amazing. Long live the king, 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 king. Long live the king, 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 king. Long live the king, king. Long live, turn up. I can.
Tuning in with your partners, man. You know it's your partner, Dale. Does the Bible communicate Jesus is God?
What it's communicating about Christ and how he exists is so outside of our ability to grasp and comprehend.
What it do, y'all? It's your partners. We back in the saddle again. Your boy Liddell and Jason. What it do, baby? How you doing, Jason? We can't hear you, Doc. We can't hear you at all, Jason. We can't hear you. Oh, no, can you guys hear me well? We can't hear you. We can't hear you at all. Can you hear me?
Come back.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Uh-oh. Well, what's going on, y'all? It's your partners. We here, man. Oh, here we go. We got them in. There we go. All right.
All right, can you hear me, Doc?
Now we can. Yeah, we good. Now we good. Yeah.
What's going
how y'all
on
doing? Man, we get it in, man. You know what time it is, man. People have been DMing me, asking me, man, about the Bible Talk Chop session. And I said, we're going to get it in with the people a little bit. I've had a long weekend with cheerleading and heard so many young ladies cheer for hours. I'm so tired of high-pitched voices right now. I love my daughter, but man, my eardrums are shot. But it is what it is, guys. We're gonna get it in with this one, y'all, man. Man, we're gonna go in, Jason, man. Man, we're gonna talk about how do you value your spouse, or do you value your spouse? Man, this one right here, Jason. I posted a video, Jason, man, of Pastor Keon Henderson talking about how to value a man, and I got so much feedback, man. It was crazy, bro. It was crazy. So I thought it would be good for us to kind of
feedback you was getting.
Well, the feedback that I was getting, man, was more of, he was talking about how to value a man, and the reason why. How does a woman value a man? In other words, if you determine the value of a man by his paycheck, you've lost him. And what a man does is he retreats to a place to where he's safe in. That's why he stonewalls you, because that's the only place he can kind of survive. Because he says he kind of counted as he kind of catfishes you a little bit. And what happens is it's because he does that. He does that to survive, because now his mere presence is not value. What the man is bringing in the form of a check is more valuable than his presence. And if you do that to a man, he shuts down. And I just said, ooh-wee. And I got so much feedback on all my platforms, man. And to be honest with you, the majority of them were men. Were men. And they were like, yo, this is right here. It's going deep. And so that's why I was like, well, I think we had to chop this one up, Jason, man, because, bruh, this one here, man, is something serious, man. So I thought it'd be wise for us to kind of dive in. So if you guys are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, where you're on LinkedIn. You're gonna want to send this one out to your family and your friends and your kinfolk, because we're gonna get in on this one, guys. We're gonna answer a lot of questions, man, and dive into those areas, man, that people don't normally dive in. Jason, you agree, Big Doe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where we starting at?
Well, I think, man, if we're going to ask the question, do you value your spouse? I think we got to define what value is, don't we?
Yeah, I'm rocking with that.
So, man, my question is this here. And if anyone wants to come on with us and chop it up with us about value, man, how do you value your spouse, and really kind of give your feedback? Hey, let us know. We'll bring you on, no problem. Now we're going to ask you, you have to bring some type of value now to come on now. But we'll bring you on. We can chop it up. All right. So, Jason, I thought it'd be wise for us to go to trusttheoldictionary.com to see exactly what's going on with value. All right. So here it is. Let me make it bigger for everybody so everybody can see what's going down. Dictionary.com says value is relative worth, merit, or importance. And if you look at it from a monetary standpoint, it says monetary or material wealth, as in commerce or trade. I think the first one really kind of harnesses what we're talking about here, is relative worth, merit, and importance. The key word there is relative, which means it can be subjective. And I think that's the problem that we kind of run into is value. Why it is subjective, I think that we are so in love with wanting to receive value, you don't even know how to even give it. You agree, fam?
Yeah, I think source of truth. So we make it up as we go. So what other people have said, but if we try to where these philosophies that we have learned where they come from, we'll see that they don't have a solid foundation.
Yeah, I can see that, man. So then we gotta ask the question, Jason, how do we begin to establish a sound foundation then? Because unless you don't have a good foundation, we can't build nothing, right?
Man, I think that's where, you gotta, and for our context, we go to determine that value.
Mm-hmm. We
use the to begin. Why did God create man, and what value did the Creator give to that man or woman? Because by the person who created it and tells you how it should operate. So,
gotcha.
Just as we are creators, we are also created. So the same our creations that we make, the same rule as the Creator. So we would never use a computer, jack up a car, right?
That's
because that's not what it was designed. So we have to navigate why God designed this man and this woman so that we can begin to value.
So now, and I agree that 1,000%. And in Genesis, it says, and I always say this: God made a man, but He fashioned a woman. And I'm using fashion as a way to kind of as kind of a little bit of a spearheaded type of a word. But I think that the source of conflict when it comes to a lot of marriages, even relationships, is how do we determine value? That is the source of a lot of the conflict. So if you look at just society now, what's going on is you have a lot of people shouting and over different society issues, and what I'm hearing is value me, value me, value me. But there's no one willing to give the value out before they receive, show the value before they receive it, because of the fact that they deem themselves as being invaluable. Now, I do believe that kind of rests upon some type of foundation of what they build on. That foundation is kind of faulty, but I believe that, man, I think, Jason, we don't even know how to determine what true value is without addressing that foundation, and which is the source of truth. That's why in the text, if you want to look at man value when it comes to a man and a woman, I gotta point to Christ, man. I gotta point to him, man. When it comes to how you and I had this conversation, Jason, and God is omnipresent and he's all knowing. And so God designs all of this. And then what happens is he allows man to choose against him. So because he allowed man to choose against him, and man did do that as well, and because he's a king and he cannot go against what he actually says himself, he has a responsibility to make the system called the world right. So therefore he sends his son to come and die. And to me, that shows the ultimate value of someone saying, my integrity is so high, I'm not even going to violate my own word, but I got to fix this problem that realistically that I kind of created. Would that be kind of correct, Jason?
Yeah, I agree with that. While you was talking, man, to my head, it says in the garden, they were naked, right? Hadn't acquired any possession, so they was just these two naked people, right? At the point where they were two naked people, haven't done any creating monetary system or anything. That very state, their value was just as intact as fast forward 2,000-3,000 years later, other standards of value. So I think if we're going to look at value from a stripping away assets and what you can, and now evaluate the value of the person, this naked person, what is this person worth in its lowest form?
I'm rocking with you. So let's stay right there. I'm glad you were right there. You said the text says they were naked and unashamed. In other words, they were vulnerable. My question is, why is being vulnerable not attractive? Why is being vulnerable not attractive? What do you think, Doc?
I think because people, we don't want to be hurt. Like we need to protect ourselves, and we feel like we need to protect ourselves, and we don't want to feel pain. So, in order to guard, vulnerability is a weakness.
Okay. So what you're saying is being vulnerable is a weakness that people kind of run from. And so and I can rock with that, but here's my thing is, if you're not vulnerable, you're automatically in protection mode. Would that be sufficient?
Yeah.
And if you're in protection mode, how can you begin to understand how to value someone else if you're always in protection mode? You haven't revealed yourself.
Yeah.
At all. And so for me, my whole thing is being vulnerable is your most powerful position, but also it's the most scariest position as well. It's very scary to be vulnerable because you open yourself to be wounded all the time. And one of our biggest scares is to be wounded. And the strange thing about it, Jason, is when it comes to Christ, I see him running toward the wounds. He doesn't retreat from the wounds. He runs toward. He welcomes them. He really welcomes them. Would that be accurate when you come to the text?
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like, overall, God is telling us this world of sin you live in, it's bad. You don't have to retreat from it. I want to give you the tools to conquer it. Right? So
that is correct.
God could take away all of the pain in the world again, so we never have to go through any of this. But instead of doing that, he pulls so that we can navigate the pain and right? Because if it's any problems, but it's another thing be sustainable and be, even though the problems exist.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. I agree with that 1,000%.
So, you know, when it comes to marrying, oh, well, he has hurt me or she has hurt me, so I'm happy with this person. When God is saying, even through the hurt, let me show you how to still be as happy as you were in the day that you got married, right? So God is different than the world, man. And I feel like the world is what's teachers about how to be married, and we're overlooking the power that God has put in this topic.
Yeah. And I think that's because we are so committed to not being vulnerable. We value not being hurt. And again, I want to be sensitive to that. I'm not saying that she will go willing and go out and get hurt. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is when you say I do to somebody, for better or worse, rich or poor, in sickness and health, really take serious those vows. Being vulnerable is the only way that you're going to really make it work, which means your husband or your wife, they're going to hurt you. And that's protection mode that you actually have. It's an illusion. It will not work. You'll still get hurt even while you're protected. And so really, if you're doing it at this protectionary standpoint, you're not even really meeting your goal at all because you're still getting wounded. You're still getting wounded. And so my whole thing is this here. If the wounds are going to come, whether you're protected or not, why not maximize the relationship and become vulnerable and begin to earn that trust of one another? Begin building that value to where you may say, golly, I didn't know that my wife did X, Y, and Z. That's why the text says when it comes to a man, men, study your wives. That studying means putting down what you want for a period of time and really studying your spouse. And women at the exact same time saying, hey, I want to know exactly how my head operates because the text tells me to submit to this or respect this. I need to understand what that looks like so I can begin to become vulnerable with this man. And does that mean you're going to get hurt sometimes? Yep. That means you're going to suffer sometimes? Yep. But why are you so afraid of the pain and the suffering if you're going to get it, whether you're a protection, whether you're in a protection mode or not? Does that make sense, Jason?
Yep. I think that I observe is that we don't know how to manage pain in the set manage relationships. So the pain that's being caused, ability to properly manage the relationship, and then the response of the judgment just causes more damage. So now you have the offended causing this situation better. I just think that we haven't been taught, and we need to learn how to healthy relationships. We need to learn how to treat one another so that we can cut down on the pain and the hurt. Now, I think that the pain and the hurt, but as we become more proficient in managing our relationships, you will see a decrease in the conflict and you'll be able to navigate.
Yeah. It's, and I say this here, Jason, when it comes to being vulnerable, is when you say I do to your spouse, what happens is here, you have two people coming together that, I'm going to say it, that suck. You're trying to come together and suck less. And the only way you can suck less is by being naked and unashamed. Not being afraid of, okay, my spouse learning this secret about me. But the thing about it is I have to be sensitive is when it comes to a husband and a wife, have you laid the environment safe enough to where your spouse can communicate those secrets, those situations to where they told no one. You know what I'm saying? That's what we got to go next. Is because if you want to be vulnerable, you have to breed the environment for the vulnerability to be maximized. Would you agree, Jason?
Bro, relationship is the fakest relationship that I experience daily in the coach. This is the person that you're supposed to be the closest to, supposed to know everything. These relationships with a mask, and we keep that mask on so that we can keep the versus allowing all the garbage and we properly clean up that house so that we can build on something. Is right. So in order to properly, you first have to know who they are in their darkest and points, so that you can take all of that, embrace all of it, so that you're loving and what you're dealing with. Most people are married to their spouse 30, really know their spouse. This is how the spouse or a side dude for 15 years and you never know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The level of intimacy and transparency that needs to be there isn't there, so we can navigate in these faulty ways and be okay and functioning.
And we're going to have to ask this question, and I'm going to use what you just said concerning side chicks and side dudes. My question is to not to the person that's a side dude, because we know that's wrong, or the side chick, we know that's wrong. My question is the person that has the person that has allowed for the side piece to exist. There's an environment that you are breeding that is welcoming them that in. We're gonna talk about the person that's actually committing the actual act itself, which in itself is trash because you're violating trust there. But also when it comes to the environment for the person that is getting wounded now, it's getting wounded. What are you doing to provide a safe environment or an environment where it's welcoming? Basically, draw a circle around yourself. Take everybody in that circle first. Even if your percentage in the wrong is 1%, 0.5%, own all that 1%. Because there's a reason why said person is doing what he's doing. Is that all on you? Not at all. Period. That person needs to be held accountable for what's going on, how they're actually making these decisions. But at the exact same time, guys, we're gonna have to really re-examine if we're wanting our spouses to be vulnerable with us. We're gonna have to realistically stop being fake and lean in and talk about those things that we may not want to talk about. And that means being vulnerable and laying out environments to where it's safe to talk about those secrets, those wounds that you actually had when you were young. Because some men and women have not been able to talk about that at all, period, to their spouses. Why? Because they've never been in an environment where it's been safe to exchange those thoughts, those words. So it's now up to you as the spouse to say, okay, we're going to lay an environment to where, hey, we're naked and ashamed. No matter how ugly it is, it's safe to talk to me. It's safe to talk to me. And so that's how me and my wife have been operating for a long period of time. And it works well for us. We enjoy being naked and unashamed, Jason.
See, how does one get there? How does one get to a place where they is safe? Like, if you got these two people that's been living in this world and they have all the best intentions of coming together, they love each other, but they have not even know how to do this. It sounds great and kind of, right? A lot that we know, but
Yeah.
how to from actually doing it, right?
Gotcha. I would say this here. That is a great question, Jason. That I would say is this here is, and what I would say is this here is how me and my wife began to be naked under the shame is we stopped believing the lies. What was one of the lies? If I tell her this, or if she tells me this, they won't look at me the same. Now, is that a possibility? Yes. But at the exact same time, we had to address it. It's okay. Are we going to believe this lie? So, excuse me, this assumption? Or are we going to lean in and say, hey, I got to share something with you, and this may hurt. Hey, is it safe for me to begin to share this with you? What's up? Then now that may mean widening the circle and inviting again some wise counsel to say, hey, I need to reveal this to my wife or to my husband. I'm kind of afraid of this. I want to confess it to you initially first. Man, get some wise counsel from you. And would you guys mind being there when I actually reveal this to my wife or to my husband? That's how we begin to do it. And that's worked well for us. But you have to make the decisions to stop believing the lie.
Yeah. If you're worried about your spouse looking at you in a different, and the way that they're looking at you right now is improper. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So if I'm worried about tainting my character with this person, then know my character, because the worry let it in, right? So let's say you got a person that loves to cheat, right? Mm-hmm. Usually that they love to cheat. The fact is that the person that they with don't know that they love to cheat. So that person didn't have the ability to make the proper decision, enter into this relationship with you, knowing your, right? Not a matter of what issue you have. It's a matter of putting everything so that we can come up with a game plan that helps us navigate what are. Most individuals themselves in situations because they now feel, I knew this before, then I wouldn't have. Right. So, and the foundations for success. But there are some people out there that someone that's a cheater.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got people and their spouses have issues that they didn't know about. So may not have been the proper person to navigate. This ain't for me. So you're not properly linking yourself to the right facade and not walking in truth. So then your level of success, now that person's like, oh no, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying is during the salesman stage, which is called dating stage, you are showing your best stuff, your best lines, your best clothes. I mean, he or she don't stink. It just smells good. But because you're in the salesman mode, what's happening is you have not leaned in and said, okay, let me show you what another side of me looks like. Because you've dressed up this whole facade of what's going on. You haven't revealed, you haven't become vulnerable to this person that you're about to say I do to. And does that mean you're going to share everything? No, because some things will come out most likely after you get married. But saying, hey, I'm wounded. This was my background. This is how I grew up. I'm wounded. This may happen. Hey, let's lean in and see if this was what we want to commit to. But we're so into selling all the time in the dating stage, we don't tackle those issues or talk about what's going on in the past. And you can always tell someone how they are by looking at their past, because you can't teach what you have not experienced at all. You can't teach what you have experienced at all. So that's the one thing about it. Like when my wife and I got married, I ain't gonna lie to you, brother was selling. Brother was selling. She was as well. Some things came out like 7 years into our marriage that we had to tackle, and we tackled them things. But we had wise counsel around us said, "Are you guys really vulnerable here? Are you naked and unashamed?" And then when we began to just tell the unadulterated truth, we were like, "This it? This is what we were afraid of? We wasted 7 years for this? Oh man!" Now it's a safe environment for us to talk. We keep short accounts now. Short accounts. Do we argue? Yes, but we keep very short accounts. We don't say I'm sorry. We say, "Can you please forgive me?" When one of us actually wounds, well, that's a question for that person to ask. But it started with being naked and unashamed, and I think you're spot on, Jay. Some people are afraid of being naked and unashamed. My question is why?
What the world has taught us, man.
Yep.
Like we learn a lot of stuff at school, bro. Not only are you intellectual knowledge, you're interfacing with people, taught how to live this life. And then once you get all these people together and these people get out, now we have these philosophies that's being pushed. So look at what the culture pushes. The culture improper valuation on men and women. The man is valued by the woman is valued by how big her booty is and how she looks and sex. Right? So we have improper valuations that's being created of individuals that have no foundation. So everyone's navigating how to manage their emotions, manage the crazy of the world, but how to create these environments safe. So we're just responding. We're not creating.
Okay.
If I get hurt, then I'm going to respond this way.
So what you're saying is we stop pursuing and we just begin to just respond, and that's it. There's no
that's how we get.
Because think about it, Jason, is when you first met your spouse, man, you want to get to know it, didn't you, brother? When you first saw you, like, man, she bad. I'm trying to get to know you.
Right.
So there's a pursuit going on. When do we stop pursuing?
Well, I don't think you're supposed to stop pursuing. But
I agree.
I would say, what is the goal of the pursuit? Most of the time, you come to a man, and the goal of the pursuit is to get in the draws.
Yes, sir.
It ain't really of nothing of substance. So you go into pursuits, then your emotions start to get involved. So you're attached to. So you want to be with them, but you have no clue how to, right? Because your life goals was off yourself.
So it's an inauthentic pursuit, but you're wanting is that you begin with an inauthentic pursuit, but then you want an authentic response. That it makes no logical sense at all, none, because you're sowing you're sowing an inauthentic context. It doesn't make any sense at all. And so, and what's happening is let's say, for instance, you do get the draws. You just aren't you kind of learning, Jason, a habit that can be detrimental to you moving forward?
Yeah. Most of the relationships that we enter into start in terribly. They start off wrong, and they come in the middle trying to figure out why it didn't work.
I tell you, it didn't work because of the fact that you started it.
We don't have a blueprint.
Oof.
Bro, if you go buy a desk from IKEA, with the instructions on how to put that desk up, go buy a Mac computer, it's gonna come with some instructions. So every deal with and operate in have some instructions to be navigated. But when it comes to relationships, the most important thing on the planet, winging it. But everything else has instructions. Right, everything else. So cake without following the recipe, but we will give our minds and our bodies without having a clue to be doing it.
Yes, sir.
That's a
Jason, that's a big problem. We got a question from Matthew on YouTube. He says, "Are you supposed? How you doing, Matt, brother?" He says, "Are you supposed to be 100% honest with your spouse?" I'll take this one. Yes.
Yes, sir.
With wisdom. With wisdom. Yes. What I mean by with wisdom, what you need to communicate can, because of how your wife or your spouse has been, or husband has been raised in a certain way, you kind of see that. You want to be 100% honest with them. But if what you're about to communicate to them is like an atomic bomb, you may want to have some wise counsel there with you. So yes, 100%, and potentially, depending on the context, with some wise counsel. I learned that actually from Ryan Nixon from Reengage, when they came to him in this marriage, when he revealed what was going on with him, and his story is out there, and phenomenal marriage they actually have, man. And what he does is he'll say, "I think it's wise to us to widen the circle, bring some wise counsel before I communicate this to you," and they were okay with it. They were fine with it. So yes, 1,000%. Jason, do you agree, fam?
Yeah, I would say it says the two shall become one flesh, right? So if the two are becoming one flesh, how can I hide something from myself? What it boils down. There are people. It's one person operating. It's two parts operating in one. You're not hiding stuff from yourself. Then hiding something makes no sense. Just like you can't hide information from yourself, and why would you do it?
Exactly.
That we have the concepts that God has communicated as our standard for living. Right? If the two are to become one flesh, there is no way I can be seen as separate from my spouse. Am I 100% honest with myself? Be 100% honest with your spouse, or you're not going to even be able to achieve. Everybody's looking for this happiness, right?
Ooh.
But to achieve that happiness, we don't want to accept. How do I bake this cake? This how you do it. Oh no, I don't like that. But I still make it up your own ingredients to that.
Can't do that. Can't do that. You can't do that at all. Blueprint. Everything does. The question is, are you willing to follow the blueprint? And the question I got to say is, what blueprint are you following? And if you're following said blue, go ahead.
Now say that again. Say that again.
I said this here is, what blueprint are you following? And you got to, and every vision is tested. And so that blueprint will be tested to conclude if it's authentic or not. And so if you're following a said blueprint, if it has not been tested, you don't know if it's really the really a good blueprint. Or if it's been tested and it's failed you, and you still following a blueprint, that means you're a failure. Because you are following a failed blueprint, a failed vision. So
let's dive.
Is what's up?
I say let's dive into the blueprint.
Let's get into it then real fast, man. Let's go to where you want to go to.
I want to go to Galatians.
Galatians, okay. Galatians.
I want to go to Galatians. Usually when we talk about this topic, man, we'll go to the Ephesians 5s and all of those things. And what is that how we treat our spouse for the marriage relationship. So we need to learn how we right? So what are the characteristics of a person who's dealing with another person? And in 5, Paul brings up the fruits is the deeds of the flesh, right?
Gotcha.
And he said, walk in the spirit, then you will not fulfill the deeds of the flesh. Look at the deeds of the flesh versus the deeds of the spirit. They directly other
conflict. Yeah.
So that one provide for the other and vice versa. Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start at verse.
Which verse?
Verse 19, chapter 5, verse 9.
Okay, we got it.
And it says, I say then, walk in the spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lust against the spirit, and these are contrary to one another. So that you do not do the things that you are led by the spirit, you are not under the law.
Yeah.
We know much that we have fallen a dead ear. And if we get back to these verses are about how to navigate on earth.
Yeah.
And it's by using God's blue relationships versus the flesh's blueprint and desires, right?
Agree.
So we look at 19, it says, now the works of them, which are adultery, fornication, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contention, outbursts of wrath, selfish inventions, and so on and so on. If we look at these characteristics and it to life, then they're going to produce a result. For example, if we have adultery, right?
Yeah.
That's going to produce some fruit.
That's right.
These negative relationships, selfish ambitions.
Yeah.
Well, that is a method of operating that produces.
I'm gonna get the NLT real fast so they can.
Okay.
There we go. Boom. So that it can be a little bit easier to read.
Outbursts of wrath. Outbursts of wrath creates an environment
That is not well. That is what it is. What it is. Okay. All right, that's cool. All right, guys. Here we go. I got you. Morality and purity, sensuality. Yep. I told you, enmity, strife. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such thing there's no law. But it says the deeds of the flesh are idolatry, sorcery, enmity, anger, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissension, factions, envy and drunkenness, carousing. Now, most people, what they'll do is they'll view all this, Jason, and they'll say, this is telling me, this is restraining me. No, this is actually giving you parameters. It's letting you know if you do this, it's going to breed this. So it's telling you you can do this if you want to, but it's going to give you this. Or you can do this here. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. It gives you a different blueprint here. So you have two different blueprints. Operate by the deeds of the flesh or the deeds of the Spirit. Which one do you want to do? Each one is going to give you a result. Which one are you going to choose? It's up to you. It's up to you.
Yep. And how can I put it? I'm sorry. Bear with me. So now question is this. How do I operate in these? Like, whether you're operating in the deeds of the flesh or you're operating, you have to become educated on how to do it. Adulterer learns adultery and he learns the best way to, right? Because
yes, sir,
he ain't trying to fall. Right? So you learn tactics, you learn that situation.
That's right.
Both are going to require a level of, right?
Yep.
An outburst of wrath. Bro, bursting in wrath, you're just not in I couldn't control. You usually are seeking to hurt, to with this selfish motive cause pain.
Yeah.
For example. So we got to become envy, murder, drunk. To become drunk, you got to go through a process.
Sure do.
To murder, a process.
That's right.
That's a process that is learned and practice. Happens overnight. If you're in a relationship, you got to display these someone, and then they'll say, "You hate me. You a hate." But that's after you have shown this characteristic. But long suffering, right? Long suffering, direct counteract to outbursts of wrath.
Yeah.
It is a direct effect of these things that's listed. Kindness. So if you got no selfish ambitions and kindness, if you're dealing in goodness, then you don't uncleanness.
That's correct.
If you're dealing with gentleness, not being hateful. You don't have contention. So, but I think because the deeds of the flesh are more natural, it's easy to get caught up in those.
Oh yeah, very easy.
In order to, you got to learn how to walk in love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, so that you get the results of the relationship that you're looking for.
That is correct. That's correct. Jason, I believe that people actually they actually like love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I'm not saying that because I'm interpreting that. That's what people communicate. Why aren't you kind? Why don't you have any self-control?
Yeah.
We want peace in the world. Where's your
Yeah.
patience at? Man, why are you not good? I want a faithful man. I want a faithful woman. I want a gentle person. So there's a desire for all of this. But the problem is people are trying to go through these are the flesh, immorality, to get to this. And immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, going to go all through the list. But they directly conflict. It's impossible. So if you desire to have, which people do, desire to have the fruits of the Spirit, they actually desire to communicate that as well. You have to learn how to begin to walk in that authority to actually access this. The key word I said is access. Why did I say that? Well, very simple. In verse 21, it says, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and things like these, of which I forewarned you, just as I have forewarned you, that those who, keyword, practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. The key word there is practice. Do over and over and over again. When you practice things like this, you become good at it. You become good at it. Just like you can practice pursuing how to be patient, how to learn how to be patient, how to love accurately, and how to have joy. You can practice this stuff. But it seems like Jason, they want to practice the deeds of the flesh to get to the deeds of the spirit. And that makes no sense to me at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And this is where the becomes our teacher, and our Christianity just becomes a concept.
Yep.
Right. So we live in the world and we adapt to the world while saying I follow Christ, but in our daily behavior, and we're just operating on survival mode.
That's it. That's it. So many men and so many women exist in the reality of surviving, not being abundant. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about life. They've grown accustomed to being in survival mode at all times. And being in survival mode is a dangerous place, because now it's a dog eat dog reality now. It's easy for you to hurt someone or to get to what you want. Why? You're in survival mode. That's the difference between surviving and being abundant. When it comes to the kingdom, the reality is abundance. And so I'm pursuing practicing the fruits of the spirit. Why? That's where the abundance is at. But Jason, even those that actually are practicing the deeds of the flesh, they say desire the fruits of the spirit. So I'm like, this is. I'm trying to understand this. Why do you think it's wise for you to think that you can do the deeds of the flesh and then graduate up to the deeds of the spirit? That doesn't make no sense to me at all. But it's because you're in survival mode.
Yeah,
So
I think
out
of habit. I think we do it out of habit and the way things are. That's why it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed. We have to take a look at, hey, what does the world say? What does God say about this? And begin to adapt your system and begin to adapt your thinking and filter it through.
That's right. That's right.
So
that's right. Man.
If you people are more in tune with the deeds of the flesh than they are like long suffering, and people don't know how to do it, bro. It's just a concept.
Yeah.
So if you were promiscuous before, and now you have to shift to faithfulness,
Yeah.
you don't have sticks build up to achieve that, no matter
Yes, sir.
how much you hire it. So it's like, go sow your wild oats and then get married. But that sowing created some habits and philosophies that you now live by.
Yes,
and
sir.
now you think in a marriage and expect to find yourself right back in that same situation. Even if you don't want it to be. Like,
that's right.
I can't believe I done this.
Yes.
Right? That's because it's no strategy, and we're just being carried away.
Yeah.
Long
suffering.
You don't know long suffering until you're for the rest of your life to fulfill your desire and your need. While you gotta go all these other beautiful people that if you wasn't married, you would have been able to your bed quick. You know?
And
so it's like,
and I would say sowing your royal oats, to me it's kind of laughable, but sowing your royal oats, that concept is going to breed destruction. It's coming because you are creating a habit. And also what's happening is whether you are a woman or a man, operate by this sowing your royal oats concept, you are basically, what you're doing is you are taking the place when you actually do these sexual acts of someone else's husband or wife, someone's daughter or son. And you bring that mentality into the marriage, and guess who picks that up? Your kids. Because why? They see how you treating your husband or your wife. It breeds a habit, which breeds destruction. It breeds it. That's why long suffering to people is not very attractive at all. Because why? Suffering is not attractive, but suffering is part of being vulnerable. It's gonna determine. Remember when we said visions will always be tested? The suffering is the testing. That's the testing to prove if your vision is authentic. So the suffering is a tool that God uses to perfect you, so you can begin to pursue your spouse in a way that you never thought you could ever do it before in your life. Never. So the suffering is testing that's actually needed. It's the pruning that's needed. Welcome to testing. Widen the circle, inviting us to wise counsel, because you're gonna need that wise counsel to assist you through this suffering. I know, man, Jason, I know. We know. Invite that in. That's why we call the body of Christ. The body. But yeah. But family, that's all I got tonight. That you want to add anything, Doc?
No, man. We got anybody with some questions or want to chime in? I can't or anything like that. So.
Yeah, I can't even see my Instagram. We just shut down. I guess when we get into these subjects, Jason, man, Instagram be like, no, sir. But my wife said that she can see me just fine. I can't see you guys, but hey, if you got any questions, guys, you can always DM me as well. I think that now more than ever, with this, what a lot of what's been pushed in society, we're going to have to really dive into really determining how do we determine what value, how do we value our spouses, to where we can authentically pursue them, so that we can breed out good, healthy families, which is good. But that's all I have, Jason. You want to end it all? Be done.
Man, that's it, bro. Well, let me go tend to my family. And
I do the same thing. Guys, man, thank you guys for chiming in with us, man. God bless you guys. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.